Kriega Bundalo. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome to the library. I'm Tennessee Fence, and I'm coming to you here for, no. We're going to do today's intro totally different. We're going to do today's video totally different. So let's get over to the desk and let's have a chat, shall we? But before we do that, let's take a minute to just stand by Dracula and think about the creatures of the night. Yeah, I can see that. All right, we are making it over to the desk here, and here's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, you guys know what we talk about on this channel normally is a whole lot of Robert E. Howard stuff. We talk about the books, we talk about the magazines, we talk about the comics, we talk about the new comics that are coming out by Titan, we talk about the movies, we talk about the DVD. We talk a lot of Robert E. Howard stuff here. But you know, it's kind of interesting. We talk a lot about the print material, but we don't talk a lot about the swag, the merch, the other things that have come out along the way, because I really don't go down that road too much. I mean, you can all fill your houses with a whole lot of different Conan things, and I have seen some really fantastic Conan statuettes and figurines, but I've never gotten really into buying them because, well, I only have so much space. And although they're really, really cool, and I'm quite jealous of people who own them, I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole. But I did go down a slight rabbit hole, a slight, very large, slight rabbit hole. And this one is actually with regards to trading cards. And I'll tell you, I'm going to throw out props and thanks right now to my friend Chad. Chad was going to a local card show. Now, you know, there are comic conventions, but there are card conventions as well, trading card conventions, sports cards, that sort of things. And for those of you who don't know, I am a little bit into baseball, and I do baseball card things from time to time, but not really whole hog. So Chad was heading over to this thing, and I said, hey, Chad, you know, I know for a fact that there are these Conan the Barbarian trading cards that came out. And in fact, I was at a Comic-Con last year, and I saw them, and I thought these are really cool, but the vendor said some things that really turned me off, and that ended that conversation very quickly. Hint to vendors, by the way, you probably shouldn't attack your customers personally when they're standing there looking at something. It's not a great way to make a sale. Anywho, so I said to Chad, hey, listen, if you're there and you see them, let me know. I mean, if you're there sitting right there, I mean, if it's an okay price, maybe we'll pull the trigger and I'll pay you back for it. That's what Chad did a huge solid for me, because he didn't find one or two, but three. He found 3 different sets of Conan cards, picked them all up for him, brought them back for me, and I now own them. Now, I'm not really the guy that's going to go through these things card by card and say, hey, these are really cool, these are really not, and here's what I think of these, because, well, I'm sure there's a whole other media for you guys to go and find that if you want to do that. But what I wanted to do today was really talk about one of these sets that I've already gone through, and that, quite frankly I was floored by. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show these ones. This is a Chromium-based set. I believe it's the first Chromium-based set. I think it's from 1993, if I'm remembering the trademark date on the back of the cards correctly. These things really took me by surprise. So what we're going to do today is I want to show you guys and showcase some of these cards. Not all of them, some of them. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to showcase the card for you, and I'm going to showcase how it differs from the actual cover that it might be recreating. And we'll talk a little bit about the set and what the set does and what the set doesn't do. So without any further ado, let's start getting into it. All right, now let's start getting into the actual cards themselves, shall we? Let's do the hard part here. Let's get into it. Now, we're going to stop right now and throw out the caveat, which is I'm really crappy at tech. No, it's not true. I'm not actually really crappy at technology. It's really easy to throw out the caveat and say I'm terrible at technology, which is why we're doing things the way they are. But I think we should probably move beyond that. That's just an age trope, and let's just move past it, shall we? I get that I've got gray in the beard, but come on. Here's what we're going to do today. Because obviously standing here and just showing you a card isn't that much fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do split screens on this one. So I've taken a bunch of photos of these cards, and I've done them on a sort of a strange angle. And the reason why I've done that is because these are Chromium cards. They're Chromium cards that I want to showcase for you guys. And what they do is they actually recreate various covers that they've selected from the Savage Sword of Conan, from Conan Saga, from some of the trade paperbacks, from the movie adaptation, a whole bunch of painted cover work or really serious art that was done about Conan, and they've made them into Chromium cards. And in making them into a Chromium card, what they've done is they've added some layers and textures to them that really bring out the artwork. I'm really honestly quite floored, because I enjoy obviously the original covers. But when you're looking at the cards themselves, there are things where you're looking at them going, wow, I know it's a lot smaller, but even at the smaller size, the added detail you've put in here is really quite good. All right, so without any further ado, what I'm going to do here is we're going to start jumping into these. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I thought were my favorites. These are the ones that made me go, oh, that's really cool. And I had to go back and find my magazine copies just to do a side-by-side comparison. I said, wow, that's really what I think. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first one here. I'm going to put it up. I think I'll put them all up on this side as we go along. So first one here is actually a Barry Windsor-Smith piece, and it's going to go there. Now, if everything worked correctly, you're now looking at a picture of a Barry Windsor-Smith piece. So what this card is this is a card that shows obviously a picture from the Tower of the Elephant. Conan is climbing up the side of the tower, the Bejeweled Tower. And it's done by Barry Windsor-Smith. This is from Conan Saga #2. Now, let me show you. You're looking at that. Now, I put it on an angle. I put it on an angle very specifically because I want to try to capture some of the actual details within this. The sheen, the shine that's actually thrown into this, and really the things that jump out. Now, when I'm looking at this right now, I have the advantage of being able to take this card and move it in the light. So when I'm looking at this, some of the key things that jump out for me that really added value when I was looking at this image is the fact that the majority of the metallic gleam that comes off this is in Conan's necklace. It's in the small accents, it's in his armlets, on literally on his loincloth as well. It's all gold and metal. Now, here's the actual original cover here. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take another image and I'm gonna put it up over there. And I'm gonna do that now, so it's right there. And that's the magazine cover. Now, again, a fantastic piece of work, but when you actually put the sheen to it, when you take the added detail, it really draws out a lot of that art. Now, what's quite interesting about this as well is on the inside cover of this particular issue of Conan Saga, for those of you who do own it, there's actually a black and white version of that very same piece just on the inside of the frontispiece. So if you're curious, go take a look. It actually looks really good. That's a cool one. I really like that one. And since we just looked at Barry Windsor-Smith, I'm going to put the next Barry Windsor-Smith up over here now. So this is Barry Windsor-Smith from Conan Saga #2. Now this is an incredibly intricate cover. Now I'm going to pick up the card here and I'm going to take a look at this thing so we can talk about this. And some of the things that I want to point out, really the big jumping piece on this one that comes out of the chromium card that I've got in my hand is the shield. Now if you can see the shield on that image there, that shield is really metallic. So is his spear and the majority of the accoutrement that he's wearing. Granted, all the beautiful colors in the background are all drawn out. But really, it's that metallic sheen that's added the detail to this card. And again, here's the magazine version. Oh, look at the glare on the magazine version. If I do this, watch this. Ooh, glary. Okay, forget the windowy glary. Let's just put the image up over here now so you can actually see the non-chromium version. Very cool cover. And honestly, the frontispiece on the inside of this one is also a black and white piece. I opened this up and looked at it for quite some time because I was pretty darned impressed with that one. Very cool card. Another one that's in here, which is kind of neat. For those of you who don't know, Howard Chaykin did do some Conan work. He did some Red Sonja work. He's done some work in some of the other Robert E. Howard contents as well. And Howard Chaykin is a really cool artist. He's a very, what would be the word I would use? Ooh, visceral? Visceral is kind of like his art style. It really, it's gritty, it stands out, and it's quite nice. I didn't know that this particular comic was a Howard Chaykin cover when I grabbed it, but it's only when I looked at it afterwards when I saw the card and I went, oh yeah, that's right. So okay, before we look at the magazine, I'm gonna put the card image up over here. Now, what you probably can't see, and what really jumps on this card when I look at it, is the chains. If you look at the image, you can see this individual behind Conan is chained to a wall. They've got chains on their wrists and they lead up into a circular wall or hole in the wall. They are completely metallic on this card, which is really, really cool. And they're the same metallic as her headpiece and as Conan's sword and his belt around his loincloth. Now I'm gonna put the actual Chaykin original image up over here now from this magazine, which is very cool, don't get me wrong, it's quite nice. But when you add that metallic accent to the headpiece and the chains and everything on this little card, it's like, whoa, it really adds a very cool dimension to it. All right, the next one I'm gonna jump into here. Now this is one, I don't know, typically okay, I know I'm probably gonna stir the pot a little bit on this one. The Conan movie poster, the original Conan the Barbarian movie poster, 1982. It's a very cool image. It's a very iconic image. It's very much Arnold Schwarzenegger painted holding up a sword with a headpiece, and it is the movie. It is the movie done down into one picture. It's a wonderful piece, but I've never thought this was really a super cool Conan the Barbarian piece of art. It's good, don't get me wrong. I just didn't think it was like, okay, this is one of the best I've ever seen. Here's the image of the card over here. Now, I got the card here in my hand, and you can see the gleam coming off of it as we look at it. Now, one of the key things in this, and why I thought I would showcase this one as well, is it's in the metallic pieces in the sword that match the helmet, that match the loincloth, that match everything that Valeria is wearing and her sword, which adds this cool accent that jumps out of the page. It really contrasts with the fire that's in the background of the image. Here, I'll put the magazine version up over here for you guys so you can take a look at it. There's fire behind them on that. It's somewhat dulled and muted, but when you look at it in the card, with that accent that pulls the people forward in the image, it really does draw that out as quite an interesting piece of art. Okay, last one I'm going to jump into here, and I think this is kind of a cool thing, and you don't see this. And this one we're going to go back and forth in the images a couple times. Okay, I'm going to show you the card here. Now, I'm a huge Ernie Chan fan. I think Ernie Chan, Conan the Barbarian art is just, it's amazing. I love it. Here's the card. Okay, now what you probably can't really see really well in the card here, and I tried to capture it in the image, is when you look at this, obviously you've got a whole bunch of metallic accents that are coming out. So for example, Conan's necklace is the same metallic accent as Conan's sword that's over his arm, over his head, that he's swinging over his head here. The winged creature that's attacking him is almost completely metallic in the actual card. But what's really interesting in this card is if you look at the sun. Now, I think I captured it in the image here. If you look at the sun, you see all these concentric rings coming off it. They've been imprinted into the card. It's this wonderful effect they've done that's created this sort of dystopian type image where the sun is just climbing out of the page. It's literally climbing out of the card. Look at the sheen right there. You can see it. You can see it here as well. Now I'm going to put the comic image up over here. So that's the comic image. That's not there at all. That's right. It's completely gone. It's just not there. The rest of the art is there. It's a very flat image. It's a very, it's just on the page. It seems very one-dimensional. Don't get me wrong. There's tons of action to it. It jumps out at you, but very much a two-dimensional image. This card, let's go back to the card for a second. That sun in the background just screams at you. It literally, it draws you in. It creates this illusion of almost a 3D image because it's coming forward with these concentric rings, but it's behind all the action that's at the front of the actual image. Very cool. Very neat thing. And I got to tell you, there's a bunch of other cards I pulled out here that I was going to talk about, but I don't want to go into too much detail on this because I think you guys get the point of where I'm going here. This is a very cool set, and what they've done is they've taken these original art pieces, and what they've done is really just re-imaged them in a way that's drawing it out into a much smaller medium. Like, there's a couple in here that I'll show another image over here. This is actually one of my favorite Conan covers ever, and a very cool Conan story, by the way, where he meets a little doppelganger version of himself from a different dimension. And it's this cool metallic card. And I think I've got the book over, yeah, it's right here. So the book is right here. Very flat, matte image on this that I've always really liked. But this card, put the image up over here, really just jumps out because you now have this giant gleaming metallic background on it. It really does make the image jump out at the front. Very cool set. So what is this set in and of itself? I talked about what the art was, and it's one of the questions that you might ask is, well, what's on the back of it? This is really where this set kind of goes, each card, there's 90 of them in this set. There's 89 of them in the set. The 90th is a checklist. Each card, what it does is it starts out this chronological sort of mapping of Conan's life, where the producers here, what they've done is they said, okay, we're going to grab this and we're going to go, each card, it's a one paragraph, maybe 3 sentences, and it says, here's the first adventure, here's the second adventure. Small summaries as they go through. Now, they miffed it a bit. They honestly did. If you follow through the Conan chronology in these cards and you read through them, there are going to be points in time where you're going, what? He went where out of Samaria? Are you sure about that? That doesn't ring a bell. Maybe it's in one of the stories in the paperbacks. Some of these things just don't line up. Some of the other ones, because unfortunately they're talking about stories which are fantastical. They're over the top. When they're doing just a 2-line summary of them, when you read them, they read as quite farcical. Like, there's one in here that actually does a summary of my favorite issue of Savage Sword of Conan ever, number 176. And it does it in a 3-line summary. And when you read it, it literally reads like a joke. But it's the actual story, but it reads quite farcically because they've narrowed it down to this tiny little piece. So that's what's on the back. And you know what? If you're a real stickler for Conan being, the Conan concept you've got being 100% correct, you might be a little miffed when you're going through this because you're thinking, I don't recognize this chronology at all. There are pieces of it that just don't fit. But if you're a guy that just wants to go out there and pick this up and say, these are kind of cool, and actually just enjoy the imagery and take the front piece for what it is, which is these wonderful reimaging of the pieces of art that are on these original magazines, I would say this is pretty cool, and I'd say it's worth picking up. Now, is this something you can actually find out there? Honestly, I think you can. I think you can get yourself on the eBay. You can just, and you'll find these. They're not that expensive. You'll be able to pick them up. I know there are some inserts to this as well. And actually, even in the set that I have, it's strange. This particular card, which is the cover of Conan the Barbarian number 93, which is that cool story, I actually have two different versions of that. One's got this sort of silvery metallic background that we're looking at here, and another one's got this purple background to it. I don't know why that is. I don't know what that is. Maybe some of you might have collected these back in, I think it is 93, right? Yeah, it's 93. Some of these back in 93 when they came out, maybe you'll have a better memory than I do and you'll know why there's these weird color variants for some of these cards. I think I have 3 or 4 of them. I don't understand why. Maybe it's a parallel set. Who knows? But very cool cards in and of themselves. Do I think these are things that you want to buy to invest in? No, by all means, do not do that. They're very cool things for a Conanophile, but I can't say that there's something that's really going to translate into, oh wow, I'm going to make a lot of money on this, like a lot of people speculate with cards and comics. Anyways, that's this set, everybody. I know this is somewhat of a more, well, boring video for a lot of our Conanophiles here, because all I'm doing is I'm going through cards and talking about you and showing, well, talking about them and showing you images. But I thought this was cool, and I thought we should cover it today. All right, everybody, that's our video for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one.